The chance to tell our stories, I think, is always an important one. In politics now, and in my life as a parliamentarian, I have seen a sense of humor really helps. So sometimes you sit in parliament and you are just amused, or even when you do your work in Nyeri County, you are amused. I mean, the transformer story really caught the whole country, gripped the whole country. I mean, as a leader, you have really no idea what to say other than to enjoy that. Hey, you only wonder, sasa watu wa kwetu, why are they removing transformers? We were rumored before to be beating our husbands in Nyeri. We don't do that. Most of our husbands are happy. In fact, in Nyeri, our rate of divorce is like 0.00. Nobody ever gets divorced in Nyeri. We live happily ever after. So these stories about beating husbands are just stories. But now, after the stories of beating husbands, you can imagine the disaster of now removing their transformers. So we've really just, toughed that one out. Hopefully no other transformer will be affected, and then maybe one day the story can be told. And there are a lot of interesting stories every day in politics, in parliament. I mean, we have like maybe 10, 20 corrupt parliamentarians. But every time they speak, they say, this house is so corrupt. You are just amused. The corrupt are saying the house is corrupt. No, it's like a joke. The rest of us are not corrupt. I mean, 80% of Kenyans are not corrupt. But the 20% who are corrupt, they say we are all corrupt. Here, corruption imezidi sana. It's like a joke, The rest of us are not corrupt. We are just, sort of doing our own things in the country. So this chance to tell our stories, the chance to write our stories down, the chance to put things that happen every day is really an interesting one. A long time ago, I used to use matatus as well. When I was growing up, before we moved to Nyeri, we used to live in Eastlands. And Eastlands, the matatu ride is itself a story. For some reason, people fight in the matatu, you are not aware why. Somebody pays fare, then the makanga doesn't return fare, a fight ensues. You step on someone in the matatu, a fight ensues. So every time I worked at Mohammed and Muigai, which is at Hazina Towers, just behind us here. And so I would go down. Our matatu then was number 10. And I really enjoyed the number 10. Every evening there was a story. Some two guys have fought. Somebody is lying on the phone. One time, the passenger next to me on phone says, "Niko kwa gari ya Kakamega." Me, I could not believe it. This matatu is going to Jericho. You are telling somebody on phone, "Nimeenda Kakamega." So those stories are really good stories. So when I saw the story on boys and girls, I really remembered those days of the matatu. I then moved, as happens with all of us. Education is one way of climbing up the ladder in terms of socioeconomic status. So lived down in Maringo for a long time. Most of my university days moved to Parklands, and then got a good job, then moved over to the Westland side. Westlands, there is just no drama. I couldn't believe it. From the drama every day to now no drama. Even in Eastlands, if we pay 20 shillings, then you tell people to pay 25 shillings. Nakwambia utakipata. Kwa nini tunaongeza bei? Wewe, it is just total drama. Even the makanga can't dare. Here we pay 20 shillings, you don't dare. In Westlands, you pay 30 shillings. The makanga says we are paying 40 shillings. Watu tu wanalipa. I was shocked. How do you pay? I mean, in Eastlands, what do you mean we pay more? In Nuko Westlands, they say, gari imepanda. Imepanda. Then they just proceed. Then the following day you come, they are told now it's 50 shillings. They don't even complain. They just give 50 shillings. Wananyanganywa tu. They are nyanyaswad. But they are polite. They just die in their politeness. So one day, a guy from it was the Lavington Matatu. So one guy, I think he was now from Kawangware, got into that matri. Then the makanga said, 50 shillings hivyo kuongeza. That guy said, watu wa Kibera atuongezi, watu wa Kawangware atuongezi do. Yani for once in my life, in that area, there was drama in the matri. One guy said, we're not adding. Apa atuongezi. Me, I even thought he was speaking for himself, but he spoke for all of us. That day we paid fare kama kawaida tu. Nothing was increased. But a lot of interesting stories of our country that need to be told. Even the small time corruption, because that is corruption in its own way. If we pay 30 shillings, why are you charging us 40 shillings, you know, for really no reason? So those stories in the book are stories that I have really, really enjoyed. And these boys and girls in the university, I'm sure those who've gone to the University of Nairobi know the gold rush when the first years come, and many other stories around boys and girls in the university. But in Parkland's campus, the boys used to be very, very creative. So they want to take you out, and they don't have a lot of money. So when you go to the hotel, the menu is brought. So what we didn't know is that they used to see the waiter in advance, so that all the expensive things. So when you're seated there, you say, is there chicken? Chicken aiko. Kumbe the guy is telling the waiter. Then you ask for something else expensive, red wine. Then you appear leo ni kama imeisha. Then eventually you will only get cheap sausage and a soda. That is the only thing that is available in the hotel that day. I mean, people really are creative in terms of how they lead life. So reading some of these stories, I can tell you, has been really, really interesting, even the Nairobi stories as well. But I think as we go forward, and as we keep to these discussions, is to expand our vision, to expand the vision of our country, to expand the vision of women, to expand how far we can reach. I was a bit sad. I haven't seen a lot of stories with a woman as president in our country. I haven't seen a lot of stories where women are doing really, really big things. Women are scientists, women are doing, so that we are not just doing the small things here that we are already doing now. We need to expand our vision and do really, really big things. There are many, many areas. If you look at the 2/3 law, there are many areas where women are far from achieving the heights that the men have achieved. Other than Professor Wangari Maathai, and Honorable Mother Karua and Charity Ngilu, I mean, the names are just a handful. We still have a long, long way to go. If you look at business, for example, where you put the names of Equity CEO, and where you put the names of Manu Chandaria, and where you put the names of Bob Collymore, you can hardly find women at that level doing the things that the men are doing. So expanding that vision, making sure that the women who come after us can really see that their vision is really their ceiling, that we can scale even higher heights. I think a lot more writing still needs to be done. We've got mentorship, and I'm glad that AMKA is doing a lot of that already. We also have values to write about, the African values, the cultural values, the Christian values, and the religious values, and the connection and the nexus between all these values. In law, it gets very interesting on the question of marriage. When we were passing the marriage laws, there was a lot of interesting discussion in Parliament, but it was very, very critical that we get the marriage laws passed so that they can accord to what we have in our marriages. But what we have, or what we had before the new set of marriage laws, is a situation where if you marry in church, then you're married in a Christian system, and the Christian system is monogamous. If you marry in culture, and it is important for us to keep culture, I don't know how many of you are from the Kikuyu culture, the dowry negotiations and the rurashio and the ngurario are all very interesting events. I mean, they are events I personally would support that we keep. If you do that, then you get married in a potentially polygamous setup. So what we've had for a long time is a man who lives as a monogamous man, but is actually a polygamous man. And the society has accepted the polygamy, because the only person who doesn't know that this man has another woman is the first wife. But everybody else knows. I mean, they wonder, what is our society doing? In our funerals, because of that incident, there is going to be the grieving widow and a couple of other people here who you are not very sure what is their status. One time, my sister-in-law, the husband passed away, and so we went to the hospital, and we were still there. So my sister was, of course, devastated. But there was another person equally devastated. In my mind, I thought she was a colleague from the office. I even wondered, kwani yu colleague alikuwa nampenda aje? My friend, drama was to unfold on us. That was another wife That is how you discover that this man had another wife, you know, when he's not even there to confirm what he was doing with this other woman. He's no longer available to speak and say what's going on. So those interconnections of the values that we are living, and this would happen to our society, that living traditional systems, getting into modern system, and embracing lingo values, that connection, that nexus, and keeping values that are positive in African culture, removing values that are not positive. But as we embrace all this, that turn point is also a very fairly interesting place to look at. I want to end with just speaking to you about Parliament and how gender issues in Parliament, how we have fared in terms of pursuing gender issues in Parliament. On the 2/3 gender law, which is the current live debate, the committee that I am a vice chair, the chair is Honorable Chepkonga. He has published a bill that says the 2/3 will be achieved progressively. And the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association, of which I am a member as well, and an executive committee member, we are up in arms against that. Because what progressive means is it has no timeline. It will just be achieved in the next maybe 100 years, 20 years, 50 years, it doesn't say when. And so we are very, very unhappy with that particular law. The law that we prefer ourselves is a law that admits, of course, progressively we are going to attain the 2/3 gender law, but at a first instance in the next election, the Senate and the National Assembly must comply fully with the 2/3 gender law. That we must have that principle. If you come to Parliament after 2017, you must find a Parliament where women and men ratio complies fully with the 2/3 gender law. The current one we have now, even with the women representatives, we are 48 women short. And there's a lot of meaning. In Parliament, where we make decisions on money, decisions on laws, every vote counts, and I'm sure you know tyranny of numbers. So when women don't have tyranny of numbers and the men have tyranny of numbers, then there is a problem in a lot of the laws. When we were doing protection against domestic violence, for example, and wanted to set the age of marriage or the age of sexual intercourse as 18, the men were resisting. And you know, you are just shocked. Who wants to sleep with a woman below 18 years? And you know, it was such a bad debate. Why would, I mean, even an 18-year-old is a child, literally. Even now, no man should touch an 18-year-old. I mean, we must wait for girls to be about 21 years. But in Parliament, they were saying, remove the age limit. So, so now, there is completely no age limit. I mean, so when women are few in the assembly, then the discussions are very difficult on some of these values that we need to look at. So the 2/3 gender law, it is going to come with an elections laws, many amendments in the Elections Act, requiring parties to put in every party a 2/3 compliant list of candidates, and also requiring that the women who want to be nominated in Parliament, including young women, they need to have ran in the primaries, that we all as women have got to increase the pool from which voters can pick. And many voters, when asked the question, can you elect a woman? Many voters say yes, but then not as many women contest. In the last election, 1,000 women contested against 15,000 men. And so really, we have to increase the numbers of women that contest in the elections. But the family laws are now done, the Protection Against Domestic Violence, the Matrimonial Property Act, and the Marriage Act, with guidance on the sets of family laws that we needed for a country. You can marry now under 4 systems. You can marry under Christian, you can marry under Muslim, you can marry under Attorney General's office, and you can also marry under customary law. We are looking at the succession law. As you know, in our country, because of cultures, many of our cultures do not allow women to inherit. And those are some of the stories that we can write on what is going on around that in whole inheritance session, including where a mother has earned her own money. I have not understood why a mother who has earned her own money cannot leave that money to both her sons and her daughters, but culture is that strong. If it is a father, because fathers are still bound by patriarchy, that is understandable. But if it is a mother, for example, like myself, I don't have a lot, but maybe I have a small car, why wouldn't I be able to leave my property to both my son and my daughter? I don't get it. So as women, we still have quite a bit of space to cover in succession, and the laws that govern succession also need to be changed. On budget, we watch a lot education, And we also look a lot at health. I'm sure you've seen the improvements in maternal health. We now have another fund coming up, Affirmative Action Fund. When we were elected as women representatives, we didn't get a fund to implement activities on the ground. This is a very debatable question, and one of those areas where the civil society and politicians can't see eye to eye, because the civil society wants a pure separation and a pure country, where if you are a parliamentarian, you do parliamentarian's work. But when you go to politics, you find our country is very impure. Even the people who elected you, they themselves, Wanjiko is not innocent. Even Wanjiko is another thug. Wanjiko literally thugs from politicians every day. We have like many harambes to attend. Like now, by the time I sit down, I will find 3 children that I need to send fees to, another 2 funerals, another mother who is stuck in hospital, and Wanjiko is continuously asking for money from politicians. Wanjiko herself, while you are making law in Nairobi, she wants development at home. She wants to see water projects, she wants to see development, she wants to see education. And so this question of funds around which development can be done is a very, very critical question for parliamentarians here in Kenya. So the women representatives now, we're going to be patrons of the fund, which will do a lot of work around alcohol abuse, do some work on affirmative action programs for women, youth, and persons with disability, and also do gender-based violence and FGM. And going forward, I think that the women's movement needs to be strong with allies, with male allies. In fact, women have never succeeded where they didn't have strong male allies. So the male allies in this fight for equality are still very, very critical. Patriarchy fights back, watching the fighting back that patriarchy does. We've seen women get into high office and get removed from that high office. We saw the Deputy Chief Justice, we saw the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary. So women are going up, but men have an old boys club. If a man now today is caught of corruption, they have a system that helps them to survive corruption. If a woman is caught, I think sisters are, they're like Liverpool. They walk alone. So when sisters are caught, they don't have the support network that the men have. So they just come tumbling down. And patriarchy is happy when women collapse. They can say, you know, now see that one, then they have another case, see that one, then they pick another one. They collapse. Now they were trying to collapse Anne Waiguru. If Anne Waiguru collapses, they say, now Angalia. So that sisterhood in terms of watching out the spaces that we have and watching that we don't fall when we get to the top is also very important. It is only sisters and writers like yourself who can keep women in office, continue to be in office. Otherwise, the challenge is always to get them out. And then in the next election, hope that many, many more women do get to be in the electoral arena, in our politics and in our parties, in our media, in our writing, in our businesses, and in our arts, and make sure that as we do this, we are enjoying the work that we are doing, and we are enjoying the things that we need to fight for. When we speak as women, we are told we have to work twice as hard as men to get the recognition. But women are saying it is not that difficult. Luckily, the men don't even work hard. So if you just work hard a bit as a woman, you surpass all the lazy men. So we have to really, really make sure that we are working very hard. And lastly, in terms of equality of men and women, we say to men, their rights and nothing more. To women, their rights and nothing less.